Bachelor star shades Jesse Palmer, wants Chris Harrison back. October 10, 2025. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation News fans. Chris Harrison was the beloved host of the Bachelor franchise for years. He left in 2021 amid major controversy. Jesse Palmer took over as host, but not everyone thinks he's doing a good job. One alarm from the show shaded Jesse Palmer and said they wanted Chris Harrison back. Keep reading to find out why. Taylor Frankie Paul hints she's started filming Bachelorette. Many longtime fans didn't think the Bachelor franchise could survive without Chris Harrison. It's been a bumpy road, but the dating shows still dominate ABC. A second season of The Golden Bachelor is currently airing. In a surprise move, the network decided to make a schedule switch-up. While The Bachelor has been renewed for season 30, it won't air in early 2026. Instead, viewers will watch Secret Lives of Mormon Wives star Taylor Frankie Paul look for love again. The single mother of 3 divorced her husband in 2022 and ended her romance with Dakota Mortensen earlier this year. She's a controversial choice as Bachelorette, partly because of her criminal record. Some viewers aren't happy that ABC chose someone who isn't already connected to the franchise. Season 22 of The Bachelorette will reportedly air in January. Taylor Frankie Paul recently hinted that the season started filming. She shared a photo of her getting glammed up with the caption, "Fall in love again and again. Don't mind if I do." Her mom makes shocking comments about Chris Harrison. When The Bachelorette returns next year, Jesse Palmer will again be the host. He took over as permanent co-host after Chris Harrison abruptly left in 2021. Next year will mark 5 years since his unexpected departure, but some fans still won't accept him. Taylor Frankie Paul's mother included. Leanne May was a guest on the Almost Famous podcast hosted by Bachelor Nation alums Ben Higgins and Ashley Iaconetti. She shared an unsolicited opinion about her daughter's upcoming season. "I wish Chris were the host. Nothing against Jesse. I love Chris. I wish they could have brought him back," she said. Bachelor alum agrees, shades Jesse Palmer. It's a sentiment many longtime Bachelor Nation fans hold. Surprisingly, Ashley Iaconetti agrees. She was a contestant on Chris Soules' season of The Bachelor and multiple seasons of Bachelor in Paradise. Ashley I met her future husband, Jared Habon, on season 2 of Bachelor in Paradise. They reconnected after leaving the beach and tied the knot in 2019. They currently live in West Greenwich, Rhode Island. She's rumored to be part of a new Bravo Real Housewives spinoff. In response to Leanne May's comments, Ashley said, "We all wish Chris were the host. That would be great. Jesse's great, but obviously there is so much heart and soul that we're missing after Chris." She added, "I think you speak for a lot of people there." While many fans still want Chris Harrison back, not everyone does. One fan recently wrote on social media, "May be a hot take, but I prefer Jesse as host way more than CH. Jesse is way more personable and seems to genuinely care about the leads and contestants." The likelihood of Chris Harrison returning to the franchise is slim to none. Let us know in the comments which host you prefer, Chris Harrison
It was dusk
or Jesse
in Los
Palmer.
Angeles. The lights behind the studio glowed like distant stars. Jesse Palmer stood alone on the roof terrace of the ABC building, overlooking the twinkling skyline. In his hand was a glass of scotch. Neat. He stared out into the horizon, mind wandering to what once was, and what could be again. He'd been the face of the Bachelor franchise for a few seasons now, replacing the man who had held that role for nearly 2 decades, Chris Harrison. Many in the industry had patted him on the back, said he was the new era, the fresh voice. But lately, late at night, Jesse felt a different whisper, that the show was missing something he couldn't articulate, something only Chris Harrison's presence might restore. And so, an audacious idea took root. Maybe, just maybe, he wanted Chris Harrison back. Jesse had always embraced challenge. After his days as a professional football quarterback morphed into a broadcasting career, he had dipped his toes into hosting The Bachelor. In 2021, after the scandal involving Chris Harrison's remarks and departure, ABC cast Jesse as the new permanent host. From day one, fans compared him to Chris. The steady voice, the gravitas, the Mr. Bachelor persona. Some said he brought a fresh spirit, less old-school patriarch, more empathetic guide. Others said he lacked the authority, the weight of legacy. He listened to them all. He studied Chris's past episodes, the way he commanded silence, lens focus, confessionals, red carpet finales. He had ambitions to elevate The Bachelor to new heights, more inclusive, more thoughtful, more contemporary. But with every new season, the pressure gnawed at him. Ratings dipped, viewers complained, social media was ruthless. He felt the burden of being the replacement. And yet, there was always the ghost of Chris Harrison in the halls of the franchise. The legacy pressure, the comparisons, the fans who wanted the old guard. One afternoon, Jesse was reviewing old tapes in a dim archive room at ABC. He came across the old After the Final Rose shows, the host walkouts, the red roses, the dramatic pauses. He watched Chris Harrison open the show with his signature calm, "This is The Bachelor. Welcome back." The audience seemed to exhale at his presence. Jesse caught himself leaning forward, imagining what it'd be like if Chris were standing next to him. Maybe not to replace him, but to share the burden, to lend support, to return as a co-host or a special guest. After all, people didn't just miss Chris Harrison. They resented losing continuity. They missed the wisdom in his questions, the calm in his voice, the moral framing he often gave contestants. Jesse felt that absence now more than ever. Inside Jesse's mind, the plan began as a quiet yearning, but ambitions in showbiz escalate fast. He met with producers. He whispered to network executives. He floated the idea. What if Chris Harrison came back, in some reduced capacity, a mentor role, guest host? The responses were cautious. Some said Chris's controversy was too fresh, too polarizing. Others said the brand might never accept him again. But Jesse persisted. He drafted proposals, scripts, segments, a legacy night where past hosts would appear, a masterclass with Chris, a reunion special, the return of the host. He sketched backstage dialogues where Chris would counsel him, share insights, mentor new contestants. He envisioned Chris and Jesse side by side in front of cameras, the old guard and new guard merging. He even began sending tentative outreaches, texts, letters, mutual contacts. "I'd like to talk. Just once. No pressure." He wanted Chris to feel invited, not threatened. The annual Bachelor Nation Gala, a fictional but plausible event, took place one evening at a grand ballroom. Jesse arrived in a navy tux, confident, loaded with charm, greeting fans and cast alums. Among the crowd, producers, former contestants, executives. He scanned the room. Was that Chris Harrison across the room, chatting with a former Bachelorette? Yes, he'd accepted the invitation. Jesse's heart fluttered. He had hoped. Their eyes met across the dance floor. Jesse excused himself from the crowd and walked towards him. "Chris," he said, approaching with a measured smile, "thank you for coming tonight." Chris Harrison, salt and pepper hair, dignified posture, turned. A moment of awkward silence, then a nod, a faint, courteous smile. "Jesse," Chris replied, voice smooth but guarded.
They exchanged pleasantries, small talk, but Jesse steered towards his vision. He said, "I've been thinking. The franchise has evolved, but your presence, your wisdom, it's still something people crave. I'd love to discuss a way for you to re-enter, not as a return to old, but as something new." Chris's eyes flickered. He leaned back, cautious tone. "I've moved on. The circumstances were complicated, but I'm open to hearing ideas." Jesse nodded. Inwardly, he pulsed with excitement. This was his chance. As whispers circulated, backlash emerged. Some producers balked. They feared PR nightmares, media backlash, residual bitterness. Many contestants expressed discomfort. Social media fans posted, "Chris got booted for a reason. No more old guard dominance. Let Jesse lead." He defended the move privately and publicly. This isn't about going back to the past. It's about bridging legacy and future, adding depth and mentorship. But critics attacked. Is he insecure? Is he trying to borrow credibility? It's a stunt. The internal debates were fierce. A few high-ranking producers told Jesse to drop it. Others said, "Let's test audience reaction." Jesse negotiated. He insisted Chris's role be limited, only for red carpet events, special episodes, not every show. He wanted a trial. He argued this could help ratings. Meanwhile, Chris wrestled. He had spent years rebuilding, doing his podcast, taking distance. The scandal in 2021, defending a contestant's past racist behavior, had forced him out. He had publicly apologized, stepped aside, and ultimately left the show permanently. In interviews, he had spoken of fear, weight loss, sleeplessness, feeling betrayed. Jesse's overture reopened old wounds. Chris felt residual hurt, betrayal by the franchise, public humiliation, debates about character and legacy. But he also felt stirrings of regret. What if his exit had left a vacuum? What if he could return on better terms? In quiet moments, he listened to how Bachelor had changed under Jesse's lead. He heard fans express nostalgia. "We miss Chris's tone. No one asks the tough questions like he did." He began wondering whether a thoughtful, grand return might help redeem his legacy and heal the brand. Yet, he feared backlash. He feared being a distraction, being seen as a desperate comeback. He feared critics, social media storms, and confronting the very controversies that forced him out. He decided to meet Jesse again, in private, off the gala stage. One late evening, Jesse invited Chris to a discreet dinner at a softly lit private room in a hotel adjacent to the network. No cameras, no press, just two men and ideas. They exchanged pleasantries, then the conversation turned earnest. "Jesse, Chris, I admire you. You built so much. I don't want to erase that. I want to build on it with respect. The host role is heavy. I'd value your counsel." Chris, "You have done well, Jesse. You have weathered storms. But why me? Why now?" Jesse, "Because I feel the show is losing something, not just ratings, but moral weight, continuity, the sense of legacy. You have deep roots in this brand, trust from years. I believe your presence could anchor us." Chris studied Jesse's face. He felt a surge of pride, but tempered by caution. "You ask a lot. I need guarantees. That this is symbolic, not control. That press won't twist it into a Chris comeback. That I won't be saddled with blame." Jesse, "Agreed. Partial role, clear scope. You'll be guest host in select episodes, mentor and off-camera strategy, maybe a legacy night. The goal is to support, not overshadow." They sketched frameworks on napkins, 6 episodes, mentorship sessions, cameo appearances, public messaging. They agreed to tread carefully. At the end, they clasped hands. It felt like a truce, tentative, hopeful, uneasy. They ran the plan by ABC's legal, PR, and marketing teams. Emails went back and forth. Leaks nearly spilled the idea to tabloid
It was a crisp
blogs.
Los Angeles morning when the gossip hit the entertainment feeds. Jesse Palmer, the ever-charming former Bachelor and current host, had reportedly dropped a comment that sent shockwaves through the franchise's fan base. In a playful yet pointed interview with Entertainment Tonight, he had shaded ABC's controversial decision to part ways with Chris Harrison, the iconic host who had shepherded the show through more rose ceremonies than anyone could count. Fans went wild. Memes were born. But behind the screens, a storm of tension, regret, and nostalgia was quietly brewing. Jesse sat in a sunlit corner of his Hollywood Hills apartment, sipping his artisanal coffee while scrolling through his phone. Headlines screamed, "Jesse Palmer shades Chris Harrison, wants him back on The Bachelor?" He chuckled softly, shaking his head. "Yeah, that's me," he muttered to no one. "I said it, but do I mean it?" The truth was complicated. Jesse had taken over as host after Chris's exit, stepping into massive shoes with a mix of charm, professionalism, and his own modern twist. Ratings hadn't suffered per se, but there was a certain je ne sais quoi missing from the show, something that Jesse felt in his bones every time he presided over a rose ceremony. Chris Harrison had been more than just a host. He was the heartbeat of The Bachelor. His booming voice, his subtle humor, his uncanny ability to navigate awkward tension, he was the glue that kept the rose-shaped universe together. And lately, Jesse couldn't shake the feeling that no matter how well he did, a part of the show's soul was gone. The next day, the paparazzi were relentless. Jesse ducked into his favorite cafe in West Hollywood, hoping for a quiet breakfast, but cameras flashed like fireworks. Jesse, do you want Chris Harrison back?" a reporter called out, her voice a mix of excitement and accusation. Jesse smiled, a mix of charm and exasperation. "Well, I've got a lot of respect for Chris. Well, let's just say, the man knows how to handle drama better than anyone. And The Bachelor, it's a family. And sometimes families miss each other." The words were deliberate, playful, slightly ambiguous, perfect for headlines. But inside, Jesse felt the weight of them. He slid into his booth, ignoring the flashing lenses, and pulled out his notebook. Episode ideas, contestant quirks, potential plot lines. He scribbled them down methodically. But the phrase, "Mrs. Chris," lingered in his mind. Maybe it was nostalgia, maybe it was guilt, or maybe he genuinely wished the franchise could heal, bring back the familiar face that had defined its first 2 decades. Later that week, in a private confessional for a new Bachelor spinoff special, Jesse spoke candidly. "Look, stepping into Chris's shoes wasn't easy. You're not just a host. You're a part psychologist, part cheerleader, part crisis manager. And yes, I bring my own style, my own personality. But Chris had this presence, this unspoken authority. The way he could make a contestant feel safe or confront them with the truth, it's rare." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "I think about what the show was with him, and I won't lie. There's a part of me that wishes he were back, not for me, but for the contestants, for the fans, for the show. The heart of The Bachelor doesn't just belong to the roses or the drama, it belongs to the people who hold it together. And Chris did that in a way I admire." The camera captured a rare moment of vulnerability. Jesse Palmer, usually polished and confident, looked reflective, almost wistful. Of course, this admission didn't stay private for long. The franchise's executive offices buzzed. Producers debated whether to address Jesse's remarks publicly or let them spark conversation organically. Social media erupted. Fans split into 2 camps: Team Chris, nostalgia, and Team Jesse, optimism. The online universe couldn't get enough. Meanwhile, backstage on set, Jesse walked past a cluster of production assistants who whispered behind their hands. "Did you hear what he said about Chris?" one asked. Jesse grinned. "I did, and honestly, I meant it." It wasn't just lip service. Over months of hosting, Jesse had noticed patterns only a veteran host could understand. Contestants who were nervous in front of the cameras often needed Chris's calm reassurance. The dramatic rose ceremonies sometimes lacked the grounding he provided. He realized that no matter how much he loved hosting, some legacies weren't easy to replace.
Fans took to social media like wildfire. Hashtag bring Chris back and hashtag Team Jesse trended side by side. Memes comparing Jesse and Chris flooded the internet. Some flattering, some hilariously brutal. A TikTok even went viral, showing Jesse awkwardly trying to recreate Chris's signature eyebrow raise during a rose ceremony. Jesse watched, amused but contemplative. The memes were funny, but they highlighted a truth he couldn't ignore. Chris's influence on the franchise was indelible. People didn't just love the show, they loved the man who had guided them through it. In a quiet moment, Jesse texted a message he almost didn't send. "Chris, hope you're well. Just wanted to say, the show isn't the same without you. Miss having you around." The reply came almost immediately, short, wry, and classic Chris Harrison. "Appreciate it, Jesse, but you're doing fine. Just remember, realises aren't everything." Jesse smiled. Maybe that was enough. Maybe it wasn't about bringing Chris back. It was about honoring the legacy while forging his own path. The tension finally culminated in a live rose ceremony, one that would determine the new Bachelor in a spin-off featuring former contestants. Cameras rolled, contestants fidgeted, the air was thick with anticipation. Jesse stood in the center, rose in hand, channeling the lessons he'd learned from Chris. The ceremony was a delicate dance of empathy, timing, and charm. And somewhere deep down, he felt a whisper of nostalgia for the man who had taught him the rhythm of it all. As he handed out the last rose, he leaned into the camera and offered a small, candid smile. Hosting isn't just about the roses or the drama. It's about connecting, guiding, and sometimes missing the people who showed you how. The audience erupted in applause, unaware that behind the stage smiles and carefully scripted dialogue, Jesse Palmer had just delivered a tribute to a legend and perhaps planted the seeds of reconciliation for a franchise that thrived on emotion, nostalgia, and most of all, love.